Hi dear TV viewer. I will reveal to you today one very interesting topic. This loneliness. I will tell you how to cope with this loneliness. What groups, social groups of people are prone to this loneliness. And at the end of the video I will tell about people who don't feel alone. Being one. Here, watch until the end. Now we will communicate. I'm immediately warning. I'm not an English-speaking person. And my English is very weak to speak it like this here. So I speak with the translator. Here we go, but nevertheless I'm a psychologist. I have a lot of data, which are what to tell you. So I took such a risk and I will speak with the translator. Here is C. There is such a thing as loneliness. And this thing suffers. Well, 1/3 is exactly a percent of the Earth's population. Countries are particularly vulnerable to this. Our Western countries. That is America, that's all that surrounds her. Europe. Our Asian countries. They are not much exposed to this phenomenon. Because they have a different culture. Who is in Asia? Who is there? In the Middle East. In Turkey, those know perfectly well. What are these people? Are they? They have in their culture constantly go to visit each other. They don't leave another person. Never if the person himself does not go to visit and communicate. Other guests come to him. So loneliness is not here as such. Although people here, I am, for example. Now I am in Georgia. This is where? Between Russia and Turkey. That is, here is a country, small Georgia. And here, for example, I meet a lot of people who are single. Not married, or rather not married boys. And they still don't feel alone. Because they constantly communicate with others, that is, they have such parties here. Who are every day and they don't feel alone. See, loneliness is such. The thing is such a contagion. When? That is, loneliness is such a phenomenon when a person can be in a family relationship, and yet he can feel deep loneliness. That is, he is right in the middle of the fan. He has kids there, have a wife, have some friends, and he can be very lonely at the same time. So let's distinguish between two concepts. Have a feeling, which is called loneliness. And there is social isolation, when a person cannot physically communicate with someone. That is, prisons belong to social isolation there. Singles, yes, there's some monks who live in the mountains. There are still some people on remotes living in villages. And in such remote places, this is an isolation, which leads to loneliness. In such areas. But not a fact that people living in these places, they feel lonely. That's the interesting point. There is a feeling of exactly loneliness. When there's a deep void. Disappointment. That something is wrong. And the man feels. This is the loneliness we all know. On statistics. Once a week. Man. Every American feels lonely. Every American. Here now let's. Statistics a little bit. See. When have you ever met here? Write these here. Are chronically single kids. I do not think, because children, they are collectivists. They constantly communicate with someone. They are constantly running somewhere. Something is played there and they make contact very easily. So in children, loneliness as such is not found. Well, except some of their children. Here is but growing up. See only here a very interesting moment. Maturing are somewhere they're 16, 18 years old, that is, children past kindergarten, past school, past some institute. Educational some institution where there were constantly crowds of other children. 40 people. 100. Here they are in this crowd constantly. Every day were. And so they finished it all and they matured. And they may have already had some relationship with someone there. They're with girlfriend or boyfriend. With girl or girl with boyfriend and are. And maybe this relationship failed. And that's the peak of loneliness. The splash begins, that's when the man are matured. He matured. 18. That is he is 18 there. 20 years and here's a peak, here's this loneliness falls on this period. When a person has not found a job yet and he left. Are from some of their old educational institutions. In which he was present. But. See loneliness is treated. No well run ahead. Yes, loneliness is treated not only presence here right a sexual partner which is nearby. It could be kids. There may be some more teachers. Can be some friends. That is all. Now we will watch it. Look. Man goes to work. He gets into some collective and he already has loneliness. Here it is here. Starts to pass. He can get into some relationship. Family and he may have children. And loneliness fades away. The person has some people, of course, when being in this all, they be single. That is, there's something not satisfying. Exactly the quality of the relationship, you understand. When a person is surrounded by many other people. He has a family. He has friends and feels lonely. It means he is not satisfied with the quality of this relationship. Not the amount of people, namely quality. He wants some of his own special ones. Relationships, and he does not get them here. So we go on. That is, the person raises children. He works here. This whole scale of loneliness, it falls. By the age of 50. Then by the age of 40. 50. A man already have kids grow up to 50 somewhere. And kids leave. As a rule, can still crack family. That is a husband-wife. They usually often get divorced very often. In these European countries. America diverges very often. Therefore, as a rule, man can already be divorced. And now in this period loneliness begins. That is every. At 50 years old each. 40% of Americans said that they haven't talked to anyone in a year. That's a very big statistic. And in old age already a person feels. The closer to old age, the more loneliness. That is, it is very sadly, when a person already going to his old age and he is lonely. When kids are somewhere far away. And it's very bad. Here is. See how to deal with it and what's with. This to do with these. With this loneliness. First and a look. There is one more such moment. There is a certain social group who are not isolated from other people. She doesn't feel alone. And there are such people. If we look at yogis, monks of different faiths, different religions, then these people are the opposite, away from other people, and they say next moment that this is the only way them get closer to God. If they isolate themselves from people, this is their only spiritual path. So they isolate there, meditate in the mountains somewhere, sitting in monasteries. Although the monastery is also some people meeting, that is their incomplete loneliness. Here nevertheless there are such people. And they have their loneliness doesn't break. And them loneliness does not impair health. Does not worsen the psyche. By the way, according to statistics. What do I tell you? Loneliness. Here's chronic loneliness. This is tantamount to 20 cigarettes smoked a day. Somewhere like that, and taking alcohol. That is physical health is very, very bad effects, such as if a person abusing some drugs or alcohol, or smoking, and it's very bad. That is loneliness. It just mows down many years of life and worsens the psyche. By the way, mind abilities, they are developing, and supported by when we communicate with other people. And if the mind is not used, if we don't communicate, then the mind begins to fade and deteriorate in its functions. This is very important to keep in mind. Therefore, malicious phenomena of loneliness we identified. That is, it is not necessary. Loneliness cultivate at home and continue. Need to solve this problem. That is, you need to somehow communicate with someone in that capacity in which you need. Therefore, see. First moment. I take the example of believers. Believers do not themselves are so not destroyed by this loneliness. They believe in God. They have a line of communication with God. Many things much. That is, communication with other people replaces. So if you can believe in God and are ready, then please, you have your feelings of loneliness much stronger will shrink. That is, faith in God. This is first. Second, when you have some strongly big claims on some super quality communication with other people. This is does not allow you to communicate with those people who are right next to you. Here right next. And that's why you have your own ambitions and strong desires. Do not allow you to communicate with those people who and it limits you a lot. So you can slightly reduce your desires and your ambitions. This is gonna be a good one too. This will be a step forward in reducing loneliness. Here's a plus you can. That is, see the kind of people who are right there very shy. Which are afraid they're with someone to talk to someone. Go to some contact. And they will sit when there is someone sitting there. Is having fun and they will be scared to talk. There is such that is. Just to such people. Introduced from childhood such a concept as another person's personal space. That's what's correct. Incorrect with someone. Communicate so as not to seem like a fool. So that you do not somehow not humiliated for your desire to communicate. That is, there are such installations that stop people from just going and chatting. This is especially in Western European countries. But watch. In the East such concepts and norms are much less. That is, there a person, if he wants to communicate, he goes with strangers and communicates to himself calmly. Take the Turk, who will fit himself calmly and begin to communicate. So are such people I would recommend. Well, of course, go specifically to contact. It doesn't matter what happens. I would even recommend some training. Just approach people and ask how long it is. Just to hear. That's the feeling, and here is this complex. Just reduce. That is when you just come up to a stranger and ask something common. You already have in your mind begins to fall here this barrier and fear of these people. Here just ask how much time. Then you can already ask something more. And then you can talk. Or you can, I would recommend traveling. That is, go to other countries, not in the kind you live in. Whereas the culture right here is all the usual. And go to Eastern countries and you will understand that. You can behave much easier. Much easier when you will communicate with strangers. That is, travel is always communication with strangers. I mean travel not in hotels and some wilder way of traveling. When you are there in sun, through the site, coach surfing, through sun, or by themselves, you go and ask, where can I spend the night, or in a tent? That is, we are, for example, with sun often ride in a tent. That is, we have backpacking, we have bikes and we spend the night in a tent, and we have this one here. Ability to communicate with other strangers. We just have. Thanks to that we travel a lot. That is, I recommend just traveling. You have this feeling of loneliness just disappear. And your ability to communicate with other people will just get better. Therefore, I recommend not sit in your loneliness and do something about it, because if you will put up with this sit, your health 20 lifespan can be shortened even to 20 years. Even more and faster, that is, maybe half the time. Therefore it is very such a deadly thing, which you need to clean up. I think I was interesting to everyone until the meeting.